like, all right, we're gonna do it, okay? It's taken me a long time to actually do this, and this is not going to be easy. You know what I mean? This is not going to be easy at all. It's already uneasy, you know what I mean? Like, to bring you in public and act like no one else is around here, and then to just speak fluidly as yourself, despite who's around you and who's watching, and being in public and being in a public space, you know, it's all this gray area of being able to express ourselves. And like, if we're compromising ourselves even in front of strangers, then who are we? Like, we're basically betraying ourselves and compromising ourselves. But how many times do you like walk by somebody in the grocery and you can tell that they're going through something, and like you want to say something but you don't? Or like little things like that. Or how many times have you exactly wanted to express yourself and you felt like you couldn't? That's like kind of me right now. Like, I feel like, how am I going to go into this store and make this purchase if my identification card is missing? And then like, I'm like, am I still allowed to drive? I mean, I have like my old ID, and just like I have an ID. I literally just found out. I'm just making silly jokes, okay? I guess this is like my technical first time ever actually losing a driver's license. Like, I used to lose school IDs a lot when I was a kid. This is where old Trina starts to rear her head. And I'm attempting to change that, and I had made like my entire driving record so far, this far. There's very few of you who actually really know me and who have been keeping up with my personal story. And a lot of what my story is how my story is so integrated into you. And like, some people are like, why would I watch that? And I don't even know her. Like, they have that kind of attitude. But really, like, some people can actually see that I am them, and they can see themselves inside of me and genuinely want me to succeed, because they're like, wow, you remind me so much of myself. Like, here, let me help you out and give you the steps that like I missed, or just like the things that I learned the hard way. And sometimes it's a lot to kind of be that guy and be like, hey, like, I went through this, you know, and I have this problem. And that's not necessarily the easiest thing for anybody to admit, you know, and be their true self. And like, a lot of people only feel like they can be that person to, like, you know, like their husband or their lover or their friend, or, you know, their intimate setting, instead of being fully open and expressive. And a lot of that comes from people being afraid of the truth being used against them. I empathize with that, because there's a lot of gray area to what I do too, you know, as I am open, sharing all of these truths that step through. At the same time, like, it leaves me open for the attack and people questioning my truth or abusing me because of my truth, or because of their attachments too, of how they wish I would be, instead of really honoring me as I am unconditionally throughout all my transitional stages into my steps of awareness and transition into being the most amazing person I could ever possibly be, by learning through experiencing myself how I choose to experience myself. I'm very grateful for all the books I've ever read that have kind of really strengthened me and made me think a different way. I'm very thankful for all the people who have touched my life, and especially who have called me out when I've made mistakes. And again, it's not easy. And it's been a pleasure coming this far. And I'm not certain how much further I will be granted to be allowed to further move ahead. Like, ever since I was a kid, I was really afraid of death. And I grew up afraid of death because I had family members that I really loved with illnesses that at the time were diagnosed terminal illnesses. So I grew up in constant fear of losing the very people that I loved the most at any time. And then therefore, of course, it left me kind of morbid, constantly thinking about my own death and maybe I could go when they go, and made me constantly wonder what that was. So, at the hands of my father, I was passed down a book called You Can't Afford the Luxury of Negative Thought. And reading this book actually did excessively help me conquer my fears. And honestly, sometimes I think about, like, maybe I should read that book again when I find myself feeling extremely fearful as I am right now. Holding myself back from my own creativity. So this death stuff had me always in love with, like, things like the movie Lady in the Water, and this idea that I could be of some type of importance, I guess you could say, and that I could deliver a message to the world, and unfortunately, yes, would maybe get me killed and put into what I call 27 Club, like all the people who have committed suicide at 27. And I'm also very aware of suicides being it's supposed to be the other way, murders being downgraded to suicides. I always get that backwards. My autism or dyslexia or whatever you want to call me, I have no idea what's causing the neural pathways to go that way, but I always do that. And it's so hard to focus sometimes. I'm just like going through so much intensity internally, and like only so much can come out. But so like I said, I'm extremely sensitive, and I've been like a part of the community, I guess you can say, and I've seen people go through a lot of stuff, and I've gone through stuff with them while they go through it. Kind of like how it's like same thing when you watch my videos, it's kind of like you're having to deal with all the same energies and the sounds and all the same annoyances or whatever you choose to see and attach to type thing. So that kind of always messed with my head, and like part of me was always like, is this real? Or is this just like subconscious inner dialogue, like programming? And like I've totally had people tell me that like I'm MK Ultra, and like I've been like it's been like subliminally programmed to basically feel. It's so deep. I would love to do another video on that. Unfortunately, we're totally at our time's up as I get to like one of the like deepest times. If you don't know what MK Ultra is, please do your homework and look up MK Ultra, because that stuff is fascinating. It's fascinating, and I do notice that from my childhood, and I definitely want to cover that in the shadow work video, and I'm kind of really excited to be creating that. I love you so much. Thanks. Peace.